Okay, in our next story, another truly Orwellian story. Terrifying. It seems like a lot of the stories today are scary. I'm not trying to be a fearmonger, but this is the truth. So, the White House to ask SMS carriers to monitor vaccine misinformation in private text messages. This was reported by Politico. According to Politico, the Biden administration may be taking a step further in curbing vaccine misinformation by monitoring private social media and text messages. This is reported by Politico, and then this was from the Defender. The Biden administration and allied groups, including the DNC, are planning to engage fact checkers more aggressively and work with SMS, which is a short message service carriers, to dispel misinformation about vaccines sent over social media and text messages, according to a report today in Politico by White House correspondents Natasha Korecki and Eugene Daniels. The initiative is part of the administration's attempt to get more people vaccinated for COVID after failing to reach its goal of having 70% of American adults receive at least one vaccine dose by July 4th. We are steadfastly committed to keeping politics out of the effort to get every American vaccinated so we can save lives and help our economy further recover, White House spokesperson Kevin Munoz said, according to Politico. When we see deliberate efforts to spread misinformation, we view that as an impediment to the country's public health and will not shy away from calling it out. Now, they're obviously being very coy about monitoring and what it actually means, but they are. This is the problem here. This is, and I've heard them say things such as it's only, mass text. It's only going to be used for mass text, for spam text. And this is the issue at hand. Biden is taking a really hard stance on censorship of the American people. And not of the media, but in his own way he is, obviously, because he's anti-whistleblower, but he's continuing the same practices that Trump was when it comes to censorship, and in fact he is getting more egregious with it, because already knowing that the United States looks at all of our text messages, has access to the SMS carriers, can read all of our sensitive information, our private conversations, and then decide to what? Censor a conversation between individuals. And this is where the problem with censorship really lies, is that it always starts off with spam. It started off with spam callers. All of a sudden, if something is spam, it's automatically blocked, or your phone detects it as spam. Now, nobody seemed to have a problem with it because obviously nobody likes spam calls, but it's really a violation of free speech because you're not even giving someone the opportunity to talk. Just like when they banned Alex Jones off of all these platforms. Alex Jones is a deplorable human being who has a wrong take on everything, and he's just crazy, completely insane. But he should be allowed his platform. But by taking him off, one of the worst people with some of the worst takes, you're not going to get a lot of backlash for it. But then who's next? Someone a little bit more to the left of Alex? Then a little bit more left of that? A little bit more left of that? When do they come after us? When do they come after the left? Especially the extreme left. It won't be long. Because if you give the power to one administration, to one White House, to blatantly take our private conversations and censor them. And what do you think is going to happen when the next guy, if he's a Republican, you think that he's not going to use that power? And how do we decide what speech isn't good speech? When does speech become hateful? When does speech become violence? In my opinion, never. But it does become. But does hateful speech therefore make it so it's not allowed to be said? Or what about when it's a controversial opinion? Does that all of a sudden, will that be considered a misinformation? So, and then when does it just become, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. This is misinformation. I'm labeling this as fake news. You no longer have a platform. This is a slippery slope that we're on. Free speech is a beautiful thing that we have to uphold and maintain. Because once we start making exceptions to free speech here and there, saying, oh, he can't speak or she can't talk, or they're not allowed to have a legitimate platform, and they're not allowed to have their say, then once that door is opened, it can no longer be closed. And they're coming for you. That is the issue. They will be coming for you. They're coming for all of us, if that is the case. So we have to be really careful here. I disagree with tons and tons and tons and tons of people all day, every day. I always try to find a common ground if I can, if they're semi-reasonable, but sometimes that's impossible. But I would never say you don't have a right to speak, or you don't have a right to, in some cases, exist because of your opinion. That's very fascist, and I'm not quick to throw around, Nazi comparisons, but this is getting scary. It's getting very scary, and it's getting dangerous, and Biden and his administration really need to watch where they're going, because if he puts these actions in place, they cannot be undone. They will not be undone. Just like we saw with the NSA, just like we saw with all these illegal wars, things just continue to get worse. So we may be looking at an Orwellian future.